In an age of skyrocketing divorce rates, is it really possible to make love last? Welcome to the Falling in Love Forever show with Doctors Barbara and Michael Grossman, the well-known relationship experts and best-selling authors of The Marriage Map book. Each week, they share the latest information to help you enjoy your romantic partnerships so you can fall in love forever. Here are your hosts, Doctors Barbara and Michael Grossman.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Grossman,
I'm Dr. Barbara Grossman.
and today we're here to talk about how to create romance to last for a lifetime. Barbara and I have written a book called The Marriage Map, The Road to Transforming Your Marriage from Ordeal to Adventure. And it's all about that. It's all about what's going to happen over a lifetime and what kind of skills are you going to need to have to deal with it, and why is romance so difficult over a lifetime. Now, the ideal of romance began to be a common factor in marriage just in fairly recent times. So you had in history, in the late 1800s, early 1800s, people really started getting married because they wanted to be in love with each other. Prior to that, it was an arranged marriage. You got married because you needed to survive, you needed to have children to take care of you. That was your social security. You needed to have a relationship that works, that each of you could divide up who's doing what. It used to be before you started working in factories, the guy, the husband, he was involved with having the kids work in the field, in the farm, in the situation where he was very involved with the family. Once you had the Industrial Revolution, the dad was sort of out of the picture. He was working from 9 to 6 somewhere in some factory, and it totally changed the experience of being a family. So little by little, you began to have this relationship where you wanted to be, quote, in love with your partner. Prior to that, no, not so much love, just, you want to make it work. And if it worked, it was good. But now, you've got to be in love. And so how do you make love last for a lifetime? Well, it doesn't happen automatically. It's not an automatic process. There are so many factors involved with staying in love. So let's look what happens when you first meet your marriage partner, you're courting. You are experiencing that what is attractive about them is something that's so different than who you are. So, for instance, when Barbara and I met, we were 20 years old, and Barbara loves my strength, my independence, my self-sufficiency, because that was so different than she was.
I also loved your vision. I loved your personal ethics. I appreciated we had fabulous conversations that were psychological. So we were attuned in our temperaments.
Yes.
So we had a lot of affinity, and that's what all of our relationships are based on initially is our affinities. We're attracted to who we're attracted to based on either what we like or what was missing in our upbringing, and we bond, and we live off that bond for a couple of years, and we enjoy the connection, and over time and extra responsibilities, we knock heads on our differences because not all of our personalities really converge.
So let's talk about, for the audience, that when you fall in love, there's the conscious part and the unconscious part. You want to discuss that?
No, you'll have a few dots.
So you have the conscious part that Dr. Barber talks about what makes you fall in love with your partner. You love their way they do things, and you love who they are, and their smile and their bubbliness and all that stuff. And it's just so delightful. And your partner's so flexible. If you don't like this kind of restaurant, let's go to that kind of restaurant. If you don't like playing this kind of sport, let's do this other sport. And you just do whatever makes the other one happy, and you love courting. But there's an underside, that's an unconscious part of what attracts you to your partner. And what attracts you to your partner is that you realize that this person can heal all of the pain you have had from your childhood.
So I don't know that that's, I think that's what actually happens, but I don't know that any of us intend that. We look
Unconscious.
it's part of the story, because the other side of what you love about your partner is something uncomfortable. So that if I love your independence and I love your vision, I love the way you just uh, are passionate about what you see for yourself. It also inevitably um, has me connecting with my experience of being left behind or abandoned or uh, and so your positives also involve negatives, and so inevitably over the course of time you will bump in to discomforting interactions with your partner, and it invites the couple to learn really how to talk to each other. You have to really dig deep and understand what hurts, what feels bad, what you want, what didn't work in your life growing up, and how your partner can behave in a way that can soften that hurt and heal it. And so it's a long process of learning how to explore your history and share yourself and identify behaviors that make life sweet for you. And it takes years really to accomplish it. It sounds like a simple task, but it's amazing how many of us are reluctant to share those things. It's embarrassing or even shameful, and we hold back. We hope that it just won't happen again, and it happens over and over and over again until the couple's forced to, if they are forced to choose whether they grow as a couple or if they stay stuck in these endless cycles of injury and frustration and blame.
So let's talk personally for the audience, because they want to hear just how did it work for us? So you want to talk about that, or shall I?
How would you start?
All right. So I have all these wonderful things to say about marrying Barbara, why I married Barbara, and how great she was to talk to and to be with and to think out things. And we both have similar interests in philosophy and religion, those kind of things. So we're attracted to each other to talk about that. But I felt in Barbara was someone who was so unlike my mother, who my mother was like a general. She was so tough. She was so demanding. You got to do the right thing. You got to excel. You got to excel in everything. And whatever you do, you could always do better. And I never felt like, my mother thought I was great. She tolerated me and she just did all these good things for me. She was a great mother, but she was really tough. She was the general. Barbara was kind of laid back, and she was very accommodating, and she's very soft, and she's very willing to say how much she needed me and how much she loved me. My mother never said how much she needed me and how much she loved me. As a matter of fact, one memory that comes up, my two brothers and I forgot to give my mother a birthday card for her birthday. We were about 15. I was 15, and they were right around that. And she was really angry at us for 1 year. We all knew that we screwed up. And we were really, really sure the next birthday we would remember her birthday. So that was so unlike Barbara, because she was so easygoing about different things and just accommodating and telling me how much she loved me and needed me. I was really happy with that. The underside of that is that Barbara's not going to stay that way.
Well, because of someone who's really agreeable like me eventually comes up against my limits. And so when I eventually discovered that I couldn't just accommodate, there was a couple things that really are important to me, and I wasn't heard when I said it softly or innocuously. I started, shouting it, and it shocked Michael. It absolutely, and it hurt him, and it changed his experience of me so radically that it became a problem.
And that's the inevitable part of a romantic relationship, because there are those things that attract you to your partner that later on really, really upset you about your partner. And it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And it takes skills to share about that. So why don't you share what attracted you to me and what later was not so good for you?
Well, I have to think about that actually, but because it's quite a while ago. But
You want me to tell you?
remind me. You're wonderful, and I appreciate you so much. But I know I enjoyed your vision. I valued your integrity. You had an open heart, and you shared. You were able to really take apart life and share yourself, and I felt greatly connected with you. And I felt your loyalty. You're a loyal kind of person. You're a family person, and that meant a lot to me.
And that quality of being a very independent person who went out there and conquered life and took things around, and you were happy to have someone be that way and you to be the soft person who just sort of acquiesced. That, at a certain point in your life, as happens to many women, it's a very common thing. You get into your late 30s, early 40s, and you're not so happy with being second to, have an opinion. You weren't so happy to defer to my opinions. And then you put your foot down and you had a lot of things that you said, no, I don't want it that way anymore.
Well, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it the way you said it. I mean, I had my own direction, and I was happy that you had your own direction, and you had definite interests and goals. Because I like an independent man. I don't
Yes.
want a man to rely on me.
Right.
I have my own self-generated interests. But when you made certain things really important, and whether I was going to participate or not, you were going to go do it, and you were, you weren't very respectful of creating partnership with me. You were just going to do what you were going to do. And
Which had worked very well for 10 years.
right. So you had every reason to think that would work. And eventually I found my voice and said, and defined certain limits to that kind of freedom you were taking to do whatever. And these were big conversations for us. And it was, for me, it took me a long time to think out what I wanted, because it's not, when you decide what you want, it's not a principle or a position. It has to be specific behaviors. It has to be, something that your partner can work with. And it took me a while to figure out how I needed to be included in your life and what the limits to your, worldwide adventures were. And once I said them out loud, it made sense to me. And to my surprise, it was not a problem to negotiate with you. It worked out. But the process of figuring out, translating my complicated feelings about our life at that time, it might have taken me a year to figure out what would solve it for me. And that's the dilemma of, being, not just growing as a relationship, but growing as individuals. There's just a lot of moving parts. And by the way, our course for couples helps you find words for your feelings and find specific behaviors that help you along the way to shape the relationship in the direction of what both of you want. Because it's such a key to constantly revitalizing and recreating your relationship over a lifetime.
And one of the other things we teach in the course is how to begin to understand and appreciate how your partner can heal the wounds you have from childhood. But you have to be conscious of what those wounds are, and you have to be able to ask consciously of your partner, please help me heal these things. I need these behaviors. It happens inevitably in relationship over time. When you're 20, you're different than when you're 35, and you're different than when you're 50. And you have to constantly be able to communicate with your partner and make different requests of them. And they have to know you're not doing it to torture them. You're asking these requests because it'll help to heal you of your own childhood wounds. Because to your partner, it seems like you're making weird requests that are unreasonable. Well, I don't want to do that. Why should I do that? Just to make you feel better? No, I want to do it for what makes me feel better. When we were courting, you never asked me to do any of those things. Why should you change? And so now I'm going to find another woman, another man who will not make these kind of requests of me. Well, if you make requests nicely and you explain to your partner what you need now, then you're happy to do it. But so we teach that. How do you get your partner to understand why you're making these requests? And it allows you to have a relationship where you're in love over a lifetime. And I can say emphatically that I love Barbara more now than when we first got married 49 years ago. And love becomes a passion. And you want to do things that bring your partner joy and happiness. And it feels weird to do it because it's not your desire, it's their desire, but it makes them so happy. And you love doing that because you get that from your partner too, that they do things that just heal you. And they feel the same way about it. And that's what creates conscious romance, as opposed to in the beginning of a relationship where it's unconscious. You do what makes them happy just because it makes them happy and you don't really know anything about it. Over time of your life, you're going to be more and more clear with your partner why these things make you happy. And you find that it heals you. And I love healing Barbara's stuff from her childhood where she feels abandoned. She has a whole history of abandonment as a little kid. And I love when Barbara heals me of my feeling that my mom was so tough on me in terms of expecting and not having me feel like I was good enough for her. And I have a whole story about that. But you can heal each other and find you more and more passionately love each other as the years go by. And we want that for each of you.
So by our vision, your relationship is a process by which you grow as individuals and you grow as a partnership. And we want that for you. It's a beautiful way to live your life and grow.
So we'd love to hear from you. You're welcome to go to our website, themarriagemap.com. You're welcome to look at the different courses that we have and classes that we have. And it's a pleasure to spend time with you. And we wish you love.
Bye for now. Wishing you love.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Falling in Love Forever show with Doctors Barbara and Michael Grossman. Join us next week for another informative discussion to help you keep your love alive. Be sure to visit us at themarriagemap.com or find out about our relationship classes at fallinginloveforever.com.